and welcome to the Wright Perspective. Today, we are going to recap and discuss our first psychological horror film, the 1991 movie Silence of the Lambs. It was directed by Jonathan Demme. I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. Written by Ted Talley and adapted from a 1988 novel by Thomas Harris. It stars Jodie Foster, Ted Levine, Anthony Hopkins. It won 5 major Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Lead Actor, Best Lead Actress, Best Screenplay. And it is the inspiration for a sprawling franchise of movies, television shows, and books. So clearly, it is considered a classic in many communities. But today, we will determine if it is a classic from the Wright Perspective. We'll do a recap, and then we'll discuss plot and direction and characters and acting, cinematography, sound, music, and then we'll take a vote using a voting symbol that we have picked especially for this discussion. But let's start with intros. Kick us off, bro.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Wright. I'm the oldest.
I'm Genia Wright. I'm the middle.
Hi, I'm Brittany Wright, and I'm the youngest.
We have a content planner that we use to like pick which movie's coming next, and we have not had anything in like the horror column or like psychological or like thriller.
For good reason. I like to sleep.
We said if we going,
I don't want every sound to make me go.
But y'all, we went in good. We picked Silence of the Lambs. And just to remind people who maybe didn't hear it on our last podcast, this idea came because I was at a dinner party with some people and they were just talking about like this ginormous Hannibal Lecter and Silence of the Lambs franchise. I had no idea. This is not even something you would call a cult following. I mean, this is like a sprawling, it's a universe. It really is. And so I think it was a fitting start for us to kind of start to move into these genres. But what about a voting symbol for this movie? Did y'all come up with anything? I mean, I have two options.
My favorite
I have
part.
2.
This is my favorite part of the podcast. Hit me with them, sis.
Okay.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Well, let me do my Jania impression. So, in the third scene of the movie, there was a candy wrapper on the ground. And I was thinking that it's kind of the same thing. He's shedding the candy wrapper, just like, he shed his skin like the candy wrapper. So I was thinking candy wrapper. And it's my favorite part of the whole week. And I'm so excited. Hit me with it, sis.
Bro, man. In trying to insult me, you've actually given me quite a challenge here.
That is your superpower.
I feel you've set the bar. You've set the bar.
I don't have the ability to insult Jediah. It just makes her stronger. It's like,
it does. You're right.
She's an expert. There's nothing I can do.
You said exactly what I wanted you to say. Thank you. Now, I have 2 suggestions. One, I'll start with the one that is a little bit more obvious. And then I have a second one that I really love that I think truly pulls out some of the key themes. So the first recommendation is the pen, the ink pen. Because remember, the pen, Jodie Foster, her Clarice, was given clear instructions to keep metal objects away from Hannibal Lecter. And the person who actually broke the rule was one of his captors, okay? And that person let in other contexts, innocent ink pen be near Hannibal Lecter. And that was the beginning of the end because he used that pen to get free and kill multiple people. And now he's out here in this world killing all of us.
Well, you said that was the obvious option.
It's the pen, sis. That's the obvious one.
That was the obvious one.
That was the beginning of the end.
Here's the thing, Brittany. She can't help it. And I just love it. Because even...
Listen, that one being cocky captor, resting on his laurels, okay, really was his downfall. now he's somebody done eaten him. Guess who? Hannibal Lecter. All right, that's the first option. Second option is, and this is one I really like, it is a head in a jar. Why? Because not only was there a head in the jar in the movie, like there was actually a head in a jar, but the movie was also about the mind, okay? Part of what made Hannibal Lecter so amazing was his ability to read people, okay? This was like a psychiatrist of a genius level, okay? And the whole time we are not only watching him, it's essentially examine everyone around him and understand how to deconstruct them and deconstruct situations. We're also watching a whole matrix of experts trying to deconstruct and understand profiles of serial killers. Listen, heads in a jar, both actually and theoretically. Hello.
Can I just say that if I was a watcher of this podcast, that would be your suggestions would be my favorite part. Like every week, your suggestions, because it's not just the suggestions, but they have these logical lines that technically make sense. And
you're so passionate.
They make a ton of sense.
And she's so passionate.
You're so passionate.
So
you all.
Okay.
This
Brittany,
is an important decision.
Brittany, do you have any suggestions?
Listen, I was just going to say a moth. Shout out to butterflies.
Yeah, I was going to say a
now,
moth.
why a moth? Unpack that for us.
Well, first of all,
it was in the girl's throat, and it's on the picture when you look at the movie. When you look up the movie.
Well, okay. Well, that is a very
change.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing.
Brittany.
It's about change.
That is true. One. The moth is.
It's a good one.
Yes, all of those things. But I feel like, what they say in the movie is that the whole thing that was driving this, the reason why he used the moth, was him trying to shed his chrysalis. The killer trying to shed his chrysalis.
That's right.
And become what was on the inside. And that's what put all of these things into and that's why he loved moths. That's why it's because it starts off as a larva, as a chrysalis, and then it emerges as something else. And that is what he was doing in creating this female suit. So yes,
and isn't that what we're
so disgusting? He was sewing it.
So I think
he was at the machine.
So I had other ideas.
Bro, you have to at least you have to give us a couple, bro. What other ideas did you have?
Bray had another one though.
My other one was just a knife.
I think you struck gold on the first one. But go ahead.
But it was just gonna be a moth and a knife. Knives was everywhere. They was cutting up people. They was eating people's liver with Chianti.
See, Janiyah, that's a simple, real simple, real simple. But Janiyah, let me tell you something. I want you to keep going deeper. I want you to, like the next one.
Listen,
I want you to break it down.
It's about serial killers. It's about serial killers. Let's use a knife.
The word obvious.
I'm telling you, because I imagine myself. I imagine myself watching the podcast as a person, like from the outside, and I just know that would be my favorite part. Like I would just be waiting on that every time because I love it.
Right, I would be like making breakfast or something, and I would just stop, like,
yeah, I'll stop. And like for Janiyah's suggestions, I'm stopping. I'm stopping. I want to hear it.
Did you just say I got hand in a jar?
I gotta say, I
like how's that even a symbol? Like.
Wait, what was the first one she said?
It's an ink pen, sis.
An ink pen.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm learning a valuable lesson right now.
If you would have said ambulance, I would have been like, okay, I got it. I see where she's going with this.
There's a listener out there.
There's a
listener out there that's thinking, yep, head in a jar. Makes
Oh
sense.
yeah.
There is. I know that list.
They're going to comment on the YouTube too.
On any platform.
My community is out there. Bro,
what
other ones did you have, bro?
Yeah, well, they're out there eating people with faba beans. That community.
Listen, I don't shame people in my community. Okay? But
there's no shame going on here.
Come as you are.
Try.
Come as you are.
But I
don't eat me, but come as you are.
Well, the three that I had in my head, the one I thought was the best was the moth as well. And I also thought a lamb would be good, but it's kind of on the nose. And I also thought the face mask would be good because that is a very, like when you see that mask, you think Silence of the Lambs.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? The one with the
restraining mask.
The restraining mask.
Yep.
So and
think about what that mask does. The mask doesn't stop him from being able to talk or breathe. It just stops him from being able to bite you.
And they were very like when you start doing research on a movie, they went through to choose that mask was a process.
Sure.
And so, but anyway, in my opinion,
I do plan on doing a lot of research on this.
I'm in. I'm in.
You guys,
I'm in, y'all.
Because I'm gonna tell you what they did when they're creating. Let's not get too far off topic, but when they're creating there was no iteration of this that matched Silence of the Lambs, in my opinion. But there is a lot of good content. I'm trying not to use there's a lot of good media that came from it. And they interweave a lot of the things he did. Excuse me. And gives it reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like it gives a reason. I'm not.
The backstory is in. Oh yeah, so I'm in. I want to go deeper.
You guys don't care. I want to give one example. If you don't care about spoilers.
Oh, always.
Like
you know.
Listen, okay. This is a spoiler alert podcast. Okay.
So you know the first thing. You remember how when he bit the police officer on the cheek?
Yeah.
The first thing that when you get into his backstory, he was basically forced to eat his sister. And the first thing was the cheeks. So that's why he has a propensity to bite.
Why did
stuff goes.
Did his parents make him eat his sister?
I'm not going. I want you to be.
That might be too much of a spoiler.
We'll talk. But the point I'm trying to make is that they are that intricate when it comes to
in terms of the prequels that people are coming up with and things like that.
Good.
Oh yeah. I mean, we have to decide whether this is a classic from the Wright perspective, but regardless of where we land on that, I'm digging in further to this franchise.
I just want to watch interviews of Anthony Hopkins. I want to see.
Okay, we need to get started.
Let's get going. So what is our?
Because Brittany just popped me off. Now I want to talk.
Okay, let's get rolling. What voting symbol are we using to determine whether this is from the Wright perspective? This is a classic.
Head in a jar.
Bro, do you have?
It's like rhythm spoons.
Bro,
if you two could physically see my love right now, it would be like radiating from my brain. I'm just so happy I have a sister. I just really am. But yes, I think the moth. I like the moth.
You like the moth? Sis, is head in the jar your real vote?
No, it's a moth.
It's a moth. All right. Well, my real vote is head in the jar, but as usual, I'm outvoted because they always gang up on me. But that's fine. So we're going to go with the moth. I'm very used to it. It's been happening my entire life.
Do you need to talk to Hannibal?
Okay. Brittany, and no matter where we go, I want to start off on a point you're making about Anthony Hopkins. So
Wonderful.
you're going to do the
I'm going to do the recap.
But I want to start off where Brittany was starting off when we start reviewing.
Okay, let's do this recap, y'all.
Okay.
And again, hashtag spoiler alert, y'all. We always do a recap at the top because some of actually the majority of the content we review is from long ago. And so for people who haven't seen it in a while and need a little refresher, we do a recap that just tells the whole thing. Okay. So at the top of the movie, Clarice Starling, an FBI trainee that specializes in behavioral science, is summoned to speak to the head of that unit, Jack Crawford. And Crawford wants her to interview Hannibal, the cannibal Lecter, an imprisoned serial killer, to help advance their ability to profile serial killers. Hannibal Lecter was a renowned forensic psychiatrist before he was arrested for killing and eating people. Now, why send in Clarice? Well, because she's at the top of her class and she happens to be young and cute. But guess what? She takes it on. She does not miss a beat, okay? She meets Hannibal. You know, he's behind a special kind of glass wall. You know, they can't even give him bars because he tends to bite people if he can get his hands on them. But he does take an interest in Clarice. But while she is interviewing him, he is interviewing her right back. And after a few minutes, as a viewer of this movie, you know two things for sure. Number one, Hannibal Lecter is brilliant. Okay. Number two, he is batshit crazy. All right. And after a bit of back and forth between, in his first discussion with Clarice, he postulates that she has actually been sent to talk to him to get intel for a specific open case. And this is the manhunt for Buffalo Bill, another serial killer. But that one doesn't eat his victims, he skins them. And of course, Hannibal Lecter was right. Clarice wasn't told this in advance of her interviews with Hannibal Lecter because he would have figured it out. He would have known that she had that ulterior motive, okay? And he wouldn't have been able to trust her. And so that just gives you a sense of his level of ability. They had to trick his interviewer so that she would be able to have a truth that he could suss out that wouldn't reveal them. And so Hannibal Lecter starts playing this twisted mind game with Clarice where he forces her to dig into her own demons. You know, he's just clearly a masterful psychiatrist. Okay. And then Lecter does agree to share information about Buffalo Bill in exchange for a movement to a different facility. And when at the same time, Buffalo Bill actually kidnaps the daughter of a senator. And when he does that, Hannibal Lecter gets his wish for a change of facility. Now, let's talk about Buffalo Bill for just a second. Buffalo Bill has been kidnapping plus-size women, starving them for 3 days in a dungeon in his basement.
The worst part of all of it.
So their skin can loosen up. And then he
have a dungeon.
Yo,
and then there's no other word. Deep. It's a dungeon. It
has a well in it. Yo,
it's not a well. There's nothing at the bottom.
It's
just go.
And he keeps them for 3 days. Then he kills them and he skins them so he can use their skin. And with this is actually the movement. Yeah. And he kills them. And then once he skins them, he's taking their skin and he's sewing a woman's suit from their skin. And so when we meet Buffalo Bill, you know two things for sure. And again, it's because the movie is so the actors, really leaned in. And because the direction, everything. You know two things for sure after only meeting this man for just a few minutes. Number one, he is a deeply traumatized person, okay, and is living with a level of trauma that has driven him to the place he's in. Number two, he is batshit crazy. All right. Now, they know, meaning the FBI, they know that they have less than 3 days to try to save the senator's daughter, because that's how long Buffalo Bill keeps them alive before he kills them and then uses them as fabric for his suit. So While Hannibal Lecter is being transferred to his new facility, Clarice has joined the manhunt for Buffalo Bill. She is, following clues that Hannibal Lecter gave her and she's tracking down people that might have known Buffalo Bill early in his life when she finds herself face to face with Buffalo Bill himself in his very house. That's right. That's the house that is atop the dungeon. Okay. And with a combination of her top-notch FBI training, a lot of courage, and some luck, she does manage to kill Buffalo Bill before he can kill her, and she saves the senator's daughter. Meanwhile, as Hannibal was being transferred to his new facility, he managed to swipe what? An ink pen. And he used the insides of the ink pen to pick a lock on his handcuffs. Okay. He murdered 2 cops. And listen, he didn't just murder them. He strung one up on the cell, posed as an angel, and he skinned the face and scalp off the other one. And
used it on the outside.
And he used it to make a mask. So the other police officers, thinking that the cop that they were whisking into the ambulance was, a cop that they knew and trusted, it was actually Hannibal Lecter wearing the face and scalp of that cop. Okay.
So nasty.
And so, of course, Hannibal Lecter kills all the poor ambulance people. Okay. He gets away. And the next and last time we see him, he is in the Caribbean somewhere calling Clarice on the phone during her FBI Academy graduation to tell her that he is about to eat an old friend, which is who? One of the scientists that had been monitoring him.
He said he's having him for dinner.
Having him for dinner.
So they might just be going to Applebee's or something.
No. That means I'm going to dinner. He would have said, I'm going to dinner with an old friend. He said, I'm having
an old friend for dinner.
I said, well, hold on now. That's different.
And it's one of the scientists that had been monitoring
Dash
him.
Is not going to help that
while he was locked up. And that's it, y'all. That's how the movie ends.
It's that man's pen.
Don't go back to pen now, sis. We're already voting with the mob.
You right.
Okay. So
and every time you say pen, the pen to come up on the screen.
Sis, don't give me these complex editing requirements when we're in a time
You should
crunch.
have a word pen. A pin counter in the bottom of the screen.
Sis,
every time.
Don't do this to me.
The number comes up.
Don't do this. Not today.
I do not commit for this podcast.
Because the thing is, when you give Janiyah ideas, she's gonna try to figure it out.
Don't do it.
So don't.
So hard not to do it.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it to her today.
All right.
Don't do it.
Don't do it to her today because we gotta post this in like 2 hours.
She already said it, bro. She already said it.
I love y'all. Okay.
I didn't say it.
You know why? Because y'all are so y'all.
I didn't say it.
Y'all are so y'all. That's what.
I didn't say it.
All right, Brittany. So you were talking about.
It's a figment of your imagination. It's all jazz.
You wanted to. I'm doing it too, Brittany.
That's a little.
It's all a dream. All right. So Brittany, you were talking about you wanted to see an interview with Anthony Hopkins. Why?
I wanted to see an interview with Anthony Hopkins because I want to see how he got into this character. He did this character so well that it was like, Anthony, were you like when you would leave set going to do some of this? Because did you eat skin while you were waiting for his part? Because he was
disturbingly good.
He was so
disturbingly
good.
He was disturbingly good.
He was and I was like, did you go interview people who were mass murderers? Like, what did you do? Because I meant to look at some before we did this podcast, and I didn't get a chance. But that's my first thing. Like, I plan while I'm making breakfast this morning to like go and listen to
go check it out. Because and you know what's crazy about it is that I'm 99% sure of this, what I'm about to say. I know I'm close, but I believe he was only on screen for 18 minutes. out of this whole movie.
Wow.
Oh man.
Wow.
You both froze on my side.
You're not frozen to me, bro.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, you
You're
weren't
back.
frozen
Okay,
to me, bro.
Okay, good. So, okay, cool. So, yes, so he was only on screen for 18 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
And to have, and when you think about it, the impact was so big that you don't even realize that. But the only time he was on screen was in the cell. And in the cell, in the, when they put him in the temporary cell, and then when he was on the phone with Clarice at the end, that's it. He didn't do anything else.
They live in your mind. They live in your mind.
But it was everything about his performance, from the way he was standing there.
Yes.
And
the look in his eye. The look in his eyes.
Can I also tell you something interesting about those conversations? They recorded them one at a time. So they weren't even interacting when they were talking. They would record Clarice's part, and they recorded
Anthony Hopkins.
I wanted to say
Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter's part separately. So I'm just saying,
can we just say that your parents are setting you up for awfulness to kill people when your name is Hannibal Lecter? I just want to put that out there.
Well, here's the thing though, Britt. Was it though? Or was it after him? Because I think he was just so iconic that he changed the name. Like, it was probably okay to be called Adolf before Hitler, right?
Yeah.
But
now,
because
I wouldn't. Because
do you guys ever see the stand-up comic Hannibal Buress?
Oh yes.
And so he talks about, he's like, it was a movie. He talks about it. So I think that if you named your kid Hannibal after the movie came out, you're right. But
if you name your child Adolf Hannibal, we know you have some real
Adolf Hannibal
big plans for them.
A tough name.
You have some real big.
But man, I just, that performance. I've seen this movie so
Adolf Hitler
many times, and I've seen all the iterations. Of course, he's in other movies. He always does well. I enjoy all the movies in this series pretty much. But I'm just saying, this first one though, this Silence of the Lambs, I mean, he just because just the and that he was like, he made that up.
Listen,
he made that up. That wasn't even in the script.
Of course he made that up.
When you get into because we talked about this when we talked about Wesley Snipes. When these people get into these characters, you have so many people out here that want to be actors and actresses, and I know that there's a lot of talent. But when they get these roles and they get into this character so much that they make it their own in that way, to where you hear these interviews from directors and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, that wasn't even in the script. That was just something that happened.
Right there.
And let me tell you something. I acknowledge that this was a movie. I acknowledge that it was a movie from long ago. But I never want to be in an elevator, a dark room, or anywhere unsurveilled with Anthony Hopkins. Listen, I want
one place.
I wish that I was a person that could fully separate him from that character. I'm sorry, Anthony Hopkins. We cannot be best buds because the way, and it was so interesting. I mean, even if they had not, now they had done a wonderful job of, in the minutes up to us meeting him, of naming his background. They gave us enough. We got the name Hannibal the Cannibal. We got a sense that he was a brilliant psychiatrist. So they gave us enough. But even if they hadn't given us all of that and we just met him, you would have been able to pull all of that away from the first scene where we saw him, because of how well he poured out like the genius, how well he poured out like the mania, and how well it was just so clear. His, like, I don't want to call it an obsession, but he got this little fixation with Jodie, with Clarice rather. And listen, if they hadn't given us all that backstory, we would have still been able to get it, because of how well he portrayed the character. That's the point. And that's why I can't hang out with him.
And can I just jump?
It's just
like you will never be invited to Thanksgiving.
Nope.
Unless
it's in a very public setting, in a restaurant.
I just want to jump on back
in the
of what
daytime.
You said,
in the daytime,
because you made me think. You made me think of Jodie Foster's performance, which I feel like was. I'm not gonna say it was equal, but it was very close, if not equal. Like I feel like people can make either argument, but I'm saying that, and I don't want to get controversial on this. But what I'm saying is nowadays with female empowerment, which is obviously is wonderful. And what happens is it results in.
I mean, it's cool,
bro. That's how you make your statements controversial, by making your preface.
I'm trying to figure out how. Well, it's so hard because I just want to talk.
Just say it, bro.
Warning about somebody.
No matter what you say,
no one cares.
No matter what you say, I'm gonna make you feel bad.
So many things already.
Listen.
I'm gonna attack you. No matter
what I'm saying is that I love action movies and all these kind of movies and stuff like that. And right now with the female empowerment movement, there are a lot of overpowered, like, female actor, female protagonist moments where it's like let's say you'll have somebody who's 5'4" beating up 6, 200-pound dudes or whatever. And it's fun visually to watch, you know what I'm saying? And it's exciting and everything, but you realize that, they're, they're hyping this up. Like, they're making a point. Or like in Black Panther, where it was a really cool scene when all the females came out, in the...
Oh, the Dora Milaje. Did you all see that? Yeah.
Did you all see the movie? Y'all saw
yeah,
the
definitely.
Dora Milaje. The Dora Milaje.
Bro, that's
not about the bald-headed warriors.
That's not a current phenomenon. I mean, when you think about,
listen, I don't want to talk about. But I needed to say that to say what I wanted to say about this. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is I love all of that, because like me, when I'm in the movies,
it's just not a current phenomenon, bro. Of a woman visually.
Okay,
let him finish his statement.
But it's not even. It's just so inaccurate, because if you ever think about any of like the women superheroes, they're not muscular bodybuilders. They're always like dainty, beautiful little women who somehow can beat everybody up or kill them or kick them, or so I don't know. But that was a little bit of a disconnect for me.
Okay, I'm sorry for being wrong about that. But what I'm trying to get to is I loved how, to me, this was one of the best examples of female empowerment that I've ever seen. And I'm saying because it was like subtle, but she, in her subtlety, addressed and conquered everything that, was put in front of her. And it was done in a way that was still not over. Like, for example, at the end, she didn't just, easily overcome Buffalo Bill. You know what I mean? Like, at the end, you saw her being new. You saw her pushing through her fear. That she had, like when she was shaking the gun and all of that. But it was just like, you could just feel her just like, no, I'm going, I'm pushing forward. Like, and I just love that. I love how when she didn't make a big grandiose speech when it came to checking somebody. She was just like, people see how you act, and it matters.
And it matters.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, she said it in a way that I believe she changed that dude's whole life with that one comment. Because sometimes, like, when somebody gives you too much, you know what I'm saying? Like, when they just, like, when somebody wants to make a point to you, sometimes they get so extra that their point gets lost in what they're trying to say. You know what I'm saying? But like, when you just hit somebody with the, look, this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And what part did she do that on?
Well, if you remember, go ahead, G.
It was the part, sis, where they were they went to a small town to examine one of Buffalo Bill's recent murders. They had found the body, and they were in a situation where there were a whole bunch of local police around, and Crawford made a comment like, can I talk to you, Sheriff, in the room? I don't want to, talk about the gory things in front of a woman, in front of a woman, in front of certain company. Then later in the car, after they were leaving the small town, he said to her, I hope you know I was just saying that, playing into the dynamic of that town. And she said, listen, the cops around look to you to know how to treat me and how to act, and it matters.
And it matters.
I remember that part now.
Because she also could have just said, oh, no problem. She could have said, no problem.
She didn't let him off the hook.
She didn't.
And I would like to point out the Dora Milaje are based off of the Maasai women warrior tribe. I just want to put that out there real quick.
The what?
The hashtag real thing. Hello.
The Maasai women, I'm probably saying the name wrong. The Maasai warrior women tribe. I'm saying it all wrong.
But I think it is Maasai. I really do.
What are you talking?
Oh, when you were just talking about the Dora Milaje.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying that, but that was
I took from what you were saying is that you feel as though there's like this, it has to be this. You know what I likened it to when you were just talking about Bruce Willis when we did the Christmas movie.
Die Hard.
Thank you. And when you were saying how he was just an average dude. Dude, and just like
that's exactly
it wasn't like
right,
superpowers. Yes. It wasn't like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was just like
that's exactly what I'm saying.
This is a dude that's like coming to get his wife.
and I feel like she handled it in a way that an actual strong person would have handled it.
Yeah,
like it's like I don't have to make a scene. I don't have to, do something over the top. I need to really correct this behavior. Like this is wrong behavior and it needs to be corrected. Even when she needs to check somebody, she does it in the subtle way. Like when the dude, when she first met Chilton and he was talking about, he was basically
he was clearly coming on to her. Clearly.
He was like, well, not only that, but he was also kind of belittling her preparedness.
Yep.
And she was like, I didn't go to a charm school. Just to let you know. But the other thing I loved about how she handled that situation was that she took his inappropriate advances and used it against him.
Yeah, she did.
And that was just a level of mental test that was like, because
don't come for me, let's not send for you. That's basically what she said.
Look, the whole time he's, what are you doing tonight? And basically he was walking her to the cell just so that he can have the opportunity to flirt with her, basically.
And to grandstand.
He's way older than her, all this stuff, and
he's trying to be, I'm a super expert. Yeah.
I've been interviewing him for years and don't
got all
know shit about Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is, in a lot of ways that people would have handled that, a lot of ways movies would have handled that is by having her tell them off or something like that where they really punctuated that. But you see how she was like, because she was like, look, I should probably go and hear about myself. And he didn't want to do that. And he was like, well, you could have told me before I went up there. And she was like, but then I would have missed the pleasure of your company.
Oh.
And his whole brain was just like
it was a perfect response.
And listen, and I would like to say one thing about her though, which when they went on that scene, I was like, shout out to all the Black people that are right before the crazy people. I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then I was like, but the part of her that I was like, yes, girl, you are a good one. When she got into that dungeon and she saw the girl and she said whatever her name was, and she was like, I'm here, I'm gonna get you out of there. Catherine. And that Catherine looked up at her and she screamed, she said, I have to go, do something. She was like, where are you going? And she called her a bitch. I said, I would have looked right back.
Break.
I would have looked right back down in that well. Exactly. She ain't break, but I would have said, Okay, you know what? I forgot I left something on the stove at home.
You need 2 more days. You need 2 more
days. Because I see you lost your mind.
You need 2 more days.
With some man that's sewing up skin. He's sewing skin up to save you.
She knew in that moment. She because again, her work is in understanding the mental state of people.
Yes.
She knew that whatever Catherine said or did in that moment, it was going to be coming from a place of having been in a pit with a crazy man dancing around the edge. So there's nothing Catherine could have said that would have made her change her program, which was to save her. There's nothing Catherine could have said. And I want to say, I am so happy we were talking about, and bro, I really appreciate you naming that Jodie's character, they made her so well-rounded and so self-identified. And they gave us the opportunity to lean into her journey as not only a woman in a very male space, but also as a small person. You know, they let us see the dynamic of her being smaller than other people, and we watched her overcoming that.
When she walked in the elevator,
and everybody is so much. That one little scene, they let us see everything that she had been overcoming to get to where she was. Okay, and so that is a shout out to the writing. Okay,
listen,
and guess what else?
Can I say one more thing?
Out.
I just want to say one more thing before because. To me, she's one of the most badass characters in all of cinematic history. And I'm going to tell you why. Because
you're making some grandiose statements here.
Listen, because
cinematic history.
Because that's just how I feel. Because to me, it's easy. It's easy. Like if you're a superhuman smart, or you can fight like a crazy ninja and all this kind of stuff, it's like, that's cool. But like, if you're a regular person and you, to me, that is where the strength is. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm a big guy, and I'm gonna tell you where that movie would have took a different turn if I was Clarice Starling's position. When I went to that storage unit in the middle of the night and that thing didn't open, I'd have been like, yeah, so what's gonna happen? I'm gonna be back in the morning and with people there ain't no way in the world I'm going into a serial killer's.
Listen, one thing is for sure, I wouldn't even be able to go running around that track. So they wouldn't even have let me in the FBI Academy. I'd have been like, this is like a lot of sweating. I'm not into weapons. So there's so many ways in which,
out of her car and rolled under a door into a serial killer's. Whatever is going on in there.
There's anything in there. And that little old man that was helping her, that was at the door, he was like, oh yeah, this has been prepaid for like
10 years, a decade.
I was like,
I'm not going in there, yo. You crazy at night? Are you crazy?
But y'all, she was so committed to saving Catherine's life.
Oh yeah, that was the
we
last thing I
got 3 days.
This is the last thing I wanted to say about what you say right there, is that when she has a goal, she focuses on the goal. She doesn't concern herself with all the little, like Chilton, she realized, I'm not going to get through this dude. I just need to say something to get him away. Like, I don't need to, but her boss, no, he needs to know. So I'm going to approach him in a different way. But either way, even though he disrespected me, I'm going to check that. But right now we got something, that we're focusing on. So I'm gonna check that. Not at this moment. I just love that. I just love
totally. And I was so much
of the police officer. She said, "Go on now." I was cracking up.
Shoo, go on
now.
Go on. And so the point I was making was that what made her character so good was not just her acting, not just the writing, not just the direction. It was all of it together.
Yes.
And so that's the thing. It's like, if any of those had been weaker, she wouldn't have been as outstanding. And that's to me also a segue to be able to talk about in terms of like the choices that were made in the casting. I was so appreciative of all of the Black people in this movie. There were Black people all over the place. Okay.
It seemed like a normal planet.
Exactly. And they were in normal, realistic ratios.
Just a guy walking past.
Totally.
Or a woman walking past.
Just in the academy, in the ranks of the police, just the amount of Black people that would have been around in the 90s. That's what it was. And so for the movies that end up being really, really white, those are choices that are being made, because if you just do what is real in the world, people of color are around. And
it's the same thing. They were empowered just by being there.
Totally.
They did, like Sterling's friend never had a speech about her Blackness and why she had
and being in the FBI and all that.
I had to overcome to be in. No, it wasn't that. She was
none
just
of that.
there.
It was just she's there. So obviously she's there.
So I have a question for y'all. Okay. Now this is switching gears because we don't got a lot of time. Now, the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
When her teacher is like, I don't like this type of stuff. Like he leaves her at her award ceremony. Well, when they're all getting, becoming, what is it? Senior agents or super agents. What do they call them? Something like that. Anyway,
she was graduating
basically. And so when they're graduating, he's like, congratulations, you have a call. And then you see him walking up this. First of all, I really want to say the cinematography in this movie is amazing. The way they did everything. It was just,
oh my gosh.
Even getting down to them being in the dark. And so now you're seeing Jodie Foster's character through these green things. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry.
Night vision goggles.
Thank you.
And she's acting.
Everybody knows that word.
Acting like she's in the dark, but we can see her.
Thank you very much.
But she's acting like she was in the dark, but we can see her.
Oh, we can see her. Okay, so well that done. Part when he was going up the stairs and like put his jacket on, walking up the stairs, and he's like, "Don't forget, someone is on the phone for you." Like, how did y'all feel in that moment when he was like saying it to her? Like, someone is on the phone for you. Do you think he knew it was Hannibal Lecter? Like, because the way you saw him put his jacket on and walk up the stairs and him just reminding her, don't forget, someone's on the phone for you. And I was like, this all, I don't know if he's doing a great job of being like ambiguous and creepy right now, but like, what, you see her get on the phone and it's him. And I was like, did the teacher know? Did the teacher have some suspicion? Like,
sis, you know what I thought they were doing in that moment? I thought what they were doing is almost setting it up for like this trio to continue battling it out. It was almost like affirming the Crawford Clarice alliance, while at the same time affirming the Hannibal Clarice obsession, or like cat and mouse. So that's what I thought it was for. I watched it as a moment where they wanted to just say, look, Crawford's work continues, but guess what? So does Hannibal's. And Clarice is still right in the middle. She's still right there, working with Crawford, but in pursuit of Lecter.
And so I love
that's how I read that moment. Okay. But they were clearly trying to connect Crawford in that phone call. They clearly wanted us to.
That's what I was saying. I was like, yes, something else
I saw
in
that.
there. Yeah, like, what is that?
Yeah.
For me, I don't think Crawford was even the one to take the phone call. Like, I felt like
he didn't know.
I don't think he knew at all. That moment to me was, how there were several times where Hannibal would talk to Clarice about how men perceive her and stuff like that.
Yep.
And in that moment, when he first pulled her, it was because she was young and cute. That's why he pulled her.
Top of her class. It was all three.
Yeah, well, she was top of her class, but
she sure had to be good. If she was whack, they wouldn't have sent her in there.
Well, he said, I gave you an A. She was like an A-.
But what I'm saying is that, let's say there was a guy who was equivalent, he wasn't sending him.
Right.
The deciding factor was she was the type that Hannibal Lecter likes. And that was why he sent her in there. The fact that she was a top performer is great, But the reason why he sent her in there,
I disagree. I disagree.
You just need to watch the movie again.
Bro, it was the combination. It was the combination. He was
I'll
not
give
just
you
going
that,
to
but
send
I'm saying
anyone in there.
But if you take away her being a female and being attractive, that person wouldn't have got sent in. So yes, it was the combination. But
if you took away her smarts, she wouldn't have got sent in. That's what I'm saying. You can't say it was one over the other. It was both.
What I'm saying is that her going in there, a big part of it was because they mention it in the movie. They talk about it in the movie,
but in that she was. It's both. It's both, bro.
Listen,
they couldn't have sent in someone who was just smart enough or someone who was just cute enough. It was because she was both.
They sent her in there because that's how he made the decision. He pulled her out. She was still a student. She hadn't even graduated the academy.
Top of her class.
But that's what I'm telling you is
cute.
Deciding. Well, in the movie, the deciding factor of why he sent it was in the beginning was because she was
clearly
cute.
Both.
Was obviously because she was cute, and
at the
that's
top
why
of her class,
she sent her in. So with him thinking of her that way, in that last scene, when he saw how she carried herself out through this whole movie, when he saw she carried herself through this whole situation, to me, seeing him look at her in that moment was just him giving her that respect that she earned, that I feel like he didn't give her from the beginning. Like she had earned a level of respect that it was like that moment where he was looking at her, and honestly, you could see a little bit of attraction in his eyes and all that kind of stuff, which spoke to
attraction. I felt like a proud father.
Well, maybe I'm a man, so I see
too.
Maybe because I'm a man, I see. And what I think it also was a callback to was that yes, he's respectful. He would never act on it, but what Hannibal Lecter was talking about, that yes, he does have certain things that he probably has to check in himself with her. And what I'm saying is that in that moment, to me, I saw him respecting her as an equal more than, and it was just like that evolution all in one sight, as like, yeah, I used to just think you was cute, or that being cute was one of your best assets, but I'm realizing that wasn't even the tip of the iceberg of the type of person I'm dealing with. And I felt like that's what they were trying to communicate in that moment. And it was just him just giving, like, man, like you're probably gonna be my boss someday. Like you're just amazing. You know what I'm saying?
It's another part of them two, that interaction, Hannibal and Clarice. That scene where Clarice basically sneaks into when he's in that jail cell in the middle of a gymnasium, which I was like, you guys, this is real secure. He kills and eats people. Okay, great. Anyway.
And he has plenty of time to do it. He
has so much time.
He has time to make a creative presentation.
Like,
they're just...
This was not a good setup.
Your plan is not great.
But what I was going to say is that scene. Oh.
Go ahead, sis. Finish your point.
That scene that is intense is when she's trying to get information from him. And like he is, and they're dragging her out, and she's like saying things, and he's saying things, and I was like, you guys, this is so good.
So good.
I just love that scene.
Man, and that it was the one part that's always bothered me, is that it just seems odd that they would only have two people. But I think that the way I've gotten past it is that I'm just assuming that they didn't realize what they were dealing with. Like the only person, beyond what we're dealing with. But think about it, for 99.99% of humans, two cops and the dudes in the chained, cage and all of that would be plenty for most people, but they just didn't realize what type of sociopath they were, what type of person they were dealing with.
What they didn't know is that he had the ink pen. That's the thing. I mean, if he had not been able to pick the lock on his handcuffs, none of that could have played out.
She brought it back to the pen.
Y'all.
Back to the pen.
And the reason I brought it back to the pen, bro, is because I over time, perhaps I'll be able to get past it. But something that took away from my enjoyment of the movie was I don't understand how he got the pen.
I thought he just, I got it that Chilton just forgot it there. That's how
So the pen was laying on the bed next to Shelton, but it was next to his notepad. Mm-hmm. If the pen alone had been laying on the bed, then maybe he would have forgot it. But the pen was right next to his notepad. So he would have turned around, only picked up the notepad and not the pen. And you mean to tell me that none of the orderlies that would have been involved in unwrapping Hannibal from because at the time he was restrained on the vertical board with all of the straight jacket and the face mask. So in addition to Shelton leaving it behind, he would have had to also have orderlies who were not paying attention.
That's a hole. That's such a hole. In fact, I never thought about it, but that's such a hole. I bet there's forums talking about it. I bet there's theories.
It's a big one. How did he get the pen? That was my issue. And then the second one is the decision for him to do this ornate scene of like stringing one of the cops up in a very dramatic way. Now, I have told myself that maybe he did that so that they would be adequately distracted, so that they wouldn't notice that he was wearing the mask. But I also just thought that a gruesome scene would have also served that purpose. I just thought, my gosh, it was just so.
But that's how I'm okay with that.
It was so much. It was.
He's over the top. That's how he is. So,
okay. I can, the pageantry.
I can accept that one.
It was like a little peacocking that to me seemed.
But that's what he would do.
Okay.
That's what he would do. And Brittany talked about that moment where they were dragging him out, which was there was another very key moment in that part of the scene, which was the only physical contact he ever had with her at that point. When he just touched her figure.
Which let me tell you, that's what the movie said. They said, listen, don't get close to the glass.
Don't do it.
Don't have physical touch, and don't tell them nothing about you. Clarice did all three of them things. And I was like, okay, Clarice. But the part is, she said it very quickly. Right. She said it very quickly because her Black friend, the Black woman, she came running down the hall when she found out that Hannibal Lecter had got on. She was like, oh, I'm not concerned. He's not
he would consider that rude.
And I was like,
and that was the thing about,
you're in his mind too.
Do you realize how impressive a person you have to be to impress Hannibal Lecter? I mean, like,
very impressive.
He thinks of people as just
dinner
things,
a midnight snack.
That he could ultimately manipulate because
he's so above.
He's so above, and he's so great at his position. But here's the other part of it that was so amazing is that this genius person wanted a window. It's like him being as genius and as, I can get into your mind and craft it how I want and do what I want to you eventually because I'm strong too. He also was still like a human. Like, this is part of what they want to do to drive me crazy, is just put me in these walls and I don't see any of the outside. He wanted a window. And I just thought that was very interesting to see a little bit of humanness of him.
Sis, can I tell you, I 100% thought his request for a change of venue was about looking for an opportunity. Yeah, I didn't think he really cared about a window. I thought he was just saying, this situation, I am contained. They got this figured out. But I will have an opportunity potentially to find a new exit with a transition of jail, of holding space. So I looked at it as a manipulative tactic, sis, not an actual interest in having a window. Well, you know what? I got to tell y'all, we are at time. And I hate that we have.
One more thing.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about the music.
When he was talking to the senator, when he was talking to the senator and he was talking about her shoes, he was talking about her breastfeeding. I was like, Anthony, are you sure you're not an actual serial killer? You have got to be one. You're a real psychopath and no one knows.
He just gets into people so fast.
So she was like, what? And it made people so angry. But it's like, y'all, there are literally 10, like there's like 20 police for this one man. Y'all, he's nuts. Oh, and that part when they made a whole scene off of watching the elevator. I said, the people who directed this movie. Everybody.
There's not one weak moment in the
except for when he gets the pin. And that to me was just like, how in the world did he get that pin?
You know what? I'm curious to look that up now because
I've only had 2 days to ponder this.
Yeah, but there's got to be some forums talking about that.
Yeah, it's such an unfortunate hole. If they had just had him drop the pin under the bed, you see what I'm saying? Somehow for the pin to roll into the corner.
That's what happened. Maybe that's what happened.
They didn't give us that,
but
bro.
Also, what is his name?
All we saw was a pin next to the notepad.
They didn't give it to us. You're right.
What is his name? Chilton.
Good job, Britt.
Thank you, because you know I'll be forgetting people.
You don't be trying to remember
at all.
You don't.
I will describe them though. He said, and I feel like that pen could have been left in his arrogance of like, because when they came in, they rolled him in, he was laying on the bed. I said, what's happening here? I was like, Chilton, what are you doing? So almost like
he was so arrogant.
He was so arrogant. It aided him leaving that pen. It aided in his own demise because I do everything right. I'm the psychologist for this psychopath. And so I almost feel like, is it a hole that he left the pen? Because in his mind, he's doing everything right anyway. I got my notebook. But when he was there, he was like, where's my pen?
That was later on.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was later on. And it was like, first of all, I was like, wow, you only got one pen, whatever. But then the other part, I was like, this is a part of like, just his arrogance and not thinking that he knows all the protocols and he's just doing everything like, I know I'm doing everything correctly to keep myself safe, everybody else safe, because I'm Chilton, but so I'm just saying that as I
think that's what the movie.
Yeah, I feel what Janai's saying. Is that all they needed to do?
But no, but yeah, that part,
roll off to the
or let it get tucked under a pillow or something.
I see what you're saying.
But it was literally sitting right next to his notepad. It was like he wouldn't have just picked up the notepad and left the pen. It just wasn't plausible the way they did it to me. But anyway, if you just give into it and assume that
Anthony Hopkins.
I guess I always
Anthony Hopkins could have manifested.
I just always assumed Chilton did something stupid and left the pen. I guess I never really thought about it past that. Like, yeah, because like, and I like the fact that it was his pen.
It had to be his pen. So I love that he was the undoing.
So I guess I just never,
And he was
but I was probably just so mesmerized with the rest of the, amazingness of the movie. But,
I think it might be time to take a vote, y'all. It might be time to take a vote.
Right.
And I will tell you all, I know we're done. We're tight on time, or actually out of time. I will just say, like, the music in this movie, I mean, I'll look excellent. Because it was just so perfectly supportive. Even in the movie,
the story so good.
Move the story so well. Even when we're just thinking about the flashback moments for when Clarice was thinking back into her past, I got to tell you, if you just listen to the soundtrack of this movie, you would know the journey of the movie. It was just so well done, that backtrack. But y'all, it's time to decide. I think we got to just decide, is this movie a classic from the Wright Perspective? Bro?
No, it gets my mouth. I've seen this movie, I literally don't know how many times. And every time I watch it, I enjoy it almost more. And to me, that's what a classic. It's the definition of a classic.
For me, it is a classic as well. I would also give it my moth because it made me a person. I love psychological thrillers. I don't love gore. I don't.
Well,
and
the rest
it
of these movies
made
are going to be rough for you, just so you know. The rest every other movie is going to be rough for you. Very rough.
It made me, I was so invested in the story that was more important to me than avoiding the imagery that I don't like. You see, that's what makes it good. And the story was so well done that anything that might have given me distance from it, it didn't matter. It didn't work. It didn't work because I was so bought in and so invested and so on the journey. And only a movie that can stand the test of time accomplishes that. That's part of the recipe. And so for me, yes, I will give it a moth. Sis?
I absolutely will give this movie a moth. You all already know every time.
Oh, you got moths on your shirt.
Yep. I do have my butterflies on there.
Did you do that on purpose?
I did not, but I mentioned it earlier whenever I was saying the voter symbol, but it's too perfect.
I did. You did it on purpose. So hold on. Britt, did you do that on purpose?
Yes.
That is smart.
You're so good.
You're so good.
Thank you. I think of these things. But just like I do with any movie, I always say to myself, could you watch this movie again and get the same feeling? Could you show it to anybody? And I've never had a movie that's considered a horror genre ever leave me wanting to watch it again.
Wow.
And this is a movie that it left me wanting to go back and say, what did I miss? What didn't I see?
Sure.
What parts would I watch again? What even within the gore, what would I would be okay with seeing, or if it comes on television, I'll sit and watch it. Because it was so well done.
Sure.
It was so well done. And it also is a movie that makes you talk to the screen like, y'all got 2 police officers in there? Okay. This man is nuts. Yep. Okay, that's smart. So, I love when movies draw you in to it to make you experience it that way. So like absolutely gets my moth.
Like
well, there you have it, folks. 3 moths. The Silence of the Lambs is a classic from the Wright Perspective. Now, bro and sis, a few podcasts ago, we talked about doing Terminator 1 and 2 after Silence of the Lambs. And that was Aubrey's suggestion. And anybody who's catching us on video is seeing Aubrey's visible excitement right now at this prospect. So I just want to confirm.
Can we have
seen both of these?
No, I kind of saw them, maybe. I don't.
Can we have a
really remember?
I'm so excited for you.
Okay, fine.
I'm so excited. For you.
I kind of saw them.
Brittany, you want to do something else? I'm cool. We can do something else. I'm cool.
No.
I was just flowing. I was just flowing with it. But I'm cool with whatever.
Let's stick with it.
Okay.
I truly believe these are going to be your favorite action movies that you have ever seen.
Okay. I'm excited. I remember seeing Terminator 1, but I don't think I've ever seen 2. So I'm looking forward to
I don't feel like I've really seen, I feel like I saw them, but I didn't really take them in, because I can't remember them well.
After these, though, I would like to do Black rom-com.
I'm
after
down.
This.
Wonderful.
Let's do it. Whatever. I'm in.
All right, y'all. So tune in for the next episode.
I truly think y'all are going to really enjoy these. I can't wait to talk about these with y'all. I really can't.
I'm bracing myself. I really am. I'm bracing myself.
Because to me, those are, you'll see. I just love those 2 movies.
Well, I picked Silence of the Lambs. Aubrey's picking the next one, which is Terminator 1 and 2. So sis, the one after that, it's whatever you say, sis.
Brown sugar.
And before we wrap, Genia, do you know what random spoons are?
I didn't want to say. I didn't know what Brittany meant when she said that.
And I was going to let you go, but I decided not to.
I was going to ask my boyfriend later, like, what is that?
You're not telling the truth right now.
We're not even going to.
I don't know what that is.
We're going to let the public deduct the points. Me and Brittany are not going to explain to you. We're just going, and then you could text us later with your shame.
Oh,
and we don't even have to explain it.
I had already made a mental note to just like look into that because I didn't know what it was.
I just want you to know.
I am legit shocked
because the fact
I'm
that
so ashamed already.
The fact that you did not react to that.
Oh, I should have faked it.
I was like,
I didn't fake it well.
She doesn't even know.
It's like,
but now you'll see why it's funny because you keep saying.
You know what it is? You know what it is? I'm in my comfort zone with you all. Normally, when I'm out in the world, I can fake being cool much better than I do when I'm with the two of you. When I'm with the two of you, I forget to pretend like I am like keeping up or like aware of like what. So that's.
Well, at the beginning
my
of the
shields were down.
Your homework is to explain why Rhythm Spoons was funny, and you need to explain the context of why it was funny in the way that Brittany brought it up. That is your homework for
podcast. Because I am a person that is open to growth and to learning and to owning my areas of opportunity because that's who I am and how I show up. Yes, I accept that challenge and I accept the opportunity to grow. Thank you. Thank you, bro. What you meant for shaming is actually going to make me a better person. And I'm happy for that. I'm happy for that. I'm happy to learn and to be in community with people. Okay? I thank you. I don't
know why everybody. I don't know why there aren't a million views on every. Because I would watch this. I don't understand. I feel like there should be a million views on every episode.
Why don't we have a million views? I don't understand it. This is very entertaining content.
This is very entertaining. This is very entertaining. Yes. Anyway,
and that's the right perspective on the right perspective.
That is the right perspective on the right perspective. But yes, I'm looking forward to Jania's short essay on, again, why Rhythm Spoons is relevant.
I can't even guess.
Why Brittany brought it up at the perfect moment.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this assignment. I look forward to the growth. And thank you.
She's going to do well at it too, which makes me sick. Because
I am great at homework. I've always been great at homework. No one will ever beat me at homework.
She is the one who would be like, actually it was an A-. And you were tripping because that was an A.
Great at homework. You don't know what you've done, bro. Okay, you've given me a homework assignment. You just get ready. You're going to get schooled. Okay.
I believe I am already. All right.
Thank you all for tuning in. This has been The Wright Perspective. And our next podcast on Terminator 1 and 2 will drop on April 3rd. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Bye.
Bye.